Out there, beyond the orbit of the last planet. Beyond the reach of sunlight and radio waves. Something ancient is drifting through the dark. Not a star. Not a comet. Launched in 1977. Designed to explore, to witness, and then to disappear. It carries no weapons. No means to change its course. Only a golden record, and a hope that someone might one day listen. For nearly 50 years, it obeyed its programming. Travel. Record. Transmit. And then, it heard something. A burst of static. Easy to miss. Buried beneath radiation, distortion, and cosmic background noise. At first, nothing unusual. Just another dying signal from a machine on its last breath. But as engineers cleaned up the noise, something emerged. A pulse. A rhythm. A pattern. Not chaos, but structure. Not randomness, but math. Not a farewell. But something else entirely. Voyager 1 had captured something it was never built to detect. A neutrino pattern. Neutrinos, those ghost-like particles that pass through planets, stars, even people, without leaving a trace. Voyager doesn't have the instruments to sense them. It shouldn't even notice they exist. And yet, the transmission was real. Repeating. Precise. Structured in a way no natural source had ever displayed. Scientists across the world were puzzled. NASA. CERN. SETI. Ice Cube. All reviewed the data. None could explain it. Was it interference? A hardware fault? Some final malfunction in a dying probe? No. Because the pattern held, even under intense scrutiny. So they asked AI to help. Deep learning models trained to search for signs of intelligence in the cosmos. And what the AI found silenced the room. Prime numbers. A universal constant. A language of logic. Encoded within the neutrino oscillations. Not just information. But intention. This wasn't from a pulsar. Not a magnetar. Not a black hole. This was a message. Or worse, a signature. It wasn't random. It wasn't a glitch. It was deliberate. And the spacecraft that heard it, a nuclear-powered relic from the 1970s, never meant to survive this long. So now, scientists are divided. Some say Voyager encountered a new force of nature. Something we've never seen. Sterile neutrinos, perhaps. Others say it intercepted a message. Sent using a particle we barely understand. And a third, quieter theory, suggests Voyager didn't detect anything at all, but that something out there reached in and changed it. Each theory is a revelation. Each possibility rewrites what we know about the universe. And through it all, one question haunts everyone involved: who, or what, sent that message? And even more chilling, who knew we would be listening? But there's a twist. Trajectory models show the signal wasn't aimed at Earth. Not at the Sun. Not at Voyager. It was headed somewhere else. A point deep in the galactic void. Voyager didn't receive the message. It interrupted it. Like a radio picking up a conversation between strangers. A transmission not meant for us. And now, we've heard it. That changes everything. Because if the signal wasn't intended for Earth, then we've just stepped into a space between giants. A conversation between ancient voices. And we were never supposed to be part of it. Some theorists now speak of a contact threshold. Not about speed, or power, or technology, but about silence. A moment when a civilization becomes quiet enough to hear the universe speak. Voyager, small and forgotten, may have crossed that threshold. Not because it shouted into each theory is more than science. It's a revelation. A crack in the stained glass of what we thought was reality. It burns them. It challenges the very bones of physics, cosmology, and our place in the hierarchy of the cosmos. But through all the equations and peer-reviewed panic, one question echoes louder than the rest: who, or what, sent that message? And perhaps more haunting, who knew we were listening? Because this wasn't just a signal drifting through random dust and dead stars. It had direction. It had precision. It had purpose. But here's the twist. The thing that turned wonder into dread, the signal, that carefully structured, mathematically encoded whisper, wasn't aimed at Earth. Not at the Sun. Not even at Voyager. It was headed elsewhere. Far beyond our solar system. Into a sector of the galaxy so empty, so distant. It doesn't even have a name. And that's when realization hit. Voyager didn't receive the message. It interrupted it. Like a silent microphone dangling between two gods, suddenly picking up words not meant for mortal ears. A cosmic eavesdropper. A wandering machine that, in its final breath, stumbled into the private correspondence of powers unknown. And now, we've heard it. And that changes everything. Because if the message wasn't meant for us, then we were never part of the conversation. We were never invited to the table. We've stepped, accidentally, into a space between giants. A place where ancient voices speak in neutrinos and quantum rhythms, not radio waves or binary code. And in doing so, we may have broken a silence older than our species. A cosmic ceasefire of observation, now disrupted by a whisper we were never supposed to hear. Some physicists, now stepping beyond the boundaries of science and into philosophy, have begun to use a new phrase. They call it the contact threshold. Not a moment of grandeur. Not flashing lights or descending spacecraft. But something quieter. More terrifying. More sacred. The point at which a civilization becomes still enough, wise enough, silent enough to hear the universe when it speaks. Voyager, forgotten by many, ignored by most, was not powerful. It was not advanced. But it was quiet. Peaceful. Non-threatening. And in that stillness, something out there noticed. Since that day, no more messages. No anomalies. No second signal. Just silence. A deafening, deliberate silence. And silence, in the face of impossible contact, is not comfort. It is terror. Because maybe it wasn't a greeting. Maybe it wasn't an invitation. Maybe it was a warning. And maybe, just maybe, we were never supposed to hear it. Voyager continues its slow, silent drift. Its heart, a decaying nuclear core, pulsing weaker with each passing year. Soon, its voice will die. No more data. No more transmissions. Just one final machine, sailing into darkness, carrying a ghost it cannot understand. And yet, the message it delivered, that impossible pattern, that flicker of something beyond, it may have already served its purpose. Not a reply. Not a threat. But a presence? A watcher. An intelligence now aware that someone, somewhere, heard what it meant for no one. Voyager 1 was never built to discover anything. It wasn't a soldier. It wasn't a prophet. It was an ambassador sent to vanish. A silent traveler carrying music, greetings and hope. A time capsule meant for the stars, never expecting an answer. And for nearly 5 decades, that's exactly what it was. Until it wasn't. Until one day, it heard something. Something impossible. Something intelligent. Something watching. And now we are left with a question that has no equation, no algorithm, no simulation. A question we may never answer. A question that haunts every room where